Welcome back to the Stretch the Floor podcast. I'm Matthew, and I'm here as always with Venushan. And the NBA just wrapped up its regular season last night. We got 72 games in, and for the first time ever, well, not really, kind of the second time ever, we have the play-in tournament starting tomorrow night. It's the first time with this format. Eight's playing nine. I think we have both East games tomorrow, 8-9 and 9-10, and then the West is on Wednesday.
We
And
have
then
7-8 and then 9-10.
sorry,
Yeah.
7-8 and then 9-10 East tomorrow, West Wednesday, and then that goes till Friday, and then we got playoffs, I guess, starting on Saturday, right?
Yes, sir.
And one thing that is going to be kind of too good to be true for me, at least personally, is to be able to see multiple NBA games with like all the stars playing. Like it's been
Yeah.
so long this whole season. Every time you tune in, it's like a huge game. Nets, Lakers. Oh, LeBron, Davis, Kevin Durant, and James Harden are not playing, right? And then the next game is like, I don't know, the Clippers, Kawhi's not playing or whatever. It
Yeah.
seems like all the stars except Jamal Murray are healthy, and obviously Jaylen Brown. But it's all wrapping up to be a really exciting start to the playoffs, and hopefully it's going to be a really exciting playoff. So we're going to get into all our predictions today. We're going to start with the play-ins, and then we're going to go on to the East and the West and go all the way to the finals. So let's start with the East play-ins. The first game tomorrow is Hornets at Pacers, 10-9. And then we have the Wizards at Celtics. So do you want to give me your predictions for those two?
So I think I just got the Pacers beating the Wizards. I mean, beating the Hornets.
Yeah.
It's my bad for that. But the Hornets, without Gordon Hayward, they're just not the same team. They just lack that scorer, lack that veteran, lack that just 20-point guy. And he's a good playmaker too. They lack that. And I think the Pacers, they just have the size. They just could just feed down low. Something obviously the Hornets lack. They have Bismack Biyombo, Cody Zeller. Like Domantas
Yeah.
Sabonis is gonna have free nights. He's gonna get a lot of assists. He's gonna get a lot of points, and it's just a bad matchup for them. I think the Pacers win this.
I have the Pacers too. If Gordon Hayward were playing, I would have picked the Hornets. I think
Same.
like he was so good for that team, and the way they've looked without him, even with Lamelo back, they've been under 500, and
Yeah.
they just haven't had the scoring and the playmaking, like you said. And they don't have anyone to handle Sabonis, who's been playing really, really well since he came back. So yeah, I do have the Pacers. One thing I think to look out for, I watched them the other night against the Raptors briefly, and they played the day before. They started Goga Bitadze at center both games.
Yeah.
Do you think like is that gonna happen? Are we gonna see him starting in a really important playing game?
Well, I don't know if Miles is gonna be healthy for
Yeah, that's
the
the thing.
Hornets game, but if he's not healthy, I see them starting Boga
Mm.
just to oversize everything, just like dominate the board, dominate the paint, just like a whole inside game, like a '90s type offense, kind of,
Yeah.
just to dominate and really upset like the Hornets because you don't they don't really see that day in day out in the NBA. And yeah, I think they're just gonna go all size.
Yeah, it's a one game and you're in, one win. So it doesn't matter if it looks pretty. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if it would work over a 7 game series. Just like dominate
Mhm.
them as best you can with the size that you have. And yeah, that and hopefully Miles turns back. I honestly have no idea what his status is, but I'm assuming he's probably not going. Um, just to be safe.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I would pick the Pacers. All right, so let's go on to the more exciting game. We got the Wizards at the Celtics. No Jaylen Brown, obviously. If Jaylen Brown were playing, I would have picked the Celtics for sure. But I'm picking the Wizards in this game. I think Westbrook has been playing amazing. Beal's back, healthy. They seem to be rounding into form. Offensively, they're amazing. Defensively, that's a question mark. But I think without Jaylen Brown and with Russell Westbrook and Beal having something to really play for, I think the Wizards are going to take this one.
Yeah, I think the Wizards going to take this one too. One thing to note is obviously Jalen Brown's not playing, and Bradley Beal is already reported not 100% for the Celtics game. So that kind of sucks to see. Honestly, if the Wizards like want to get a seed, I think they'll probably want to match up with the 76ers instead of the Brooklyn Nets, but they can't risk it. They can't
Yeah.
they probably want just want the extra days off rather than avoiding the Nets because you're gonna verse them anyways, right, in the playoffs. So rather than strategically tanking in the play-ins and stuff, like that's too risky. So they're just gonna go for the win. And the Celtics, man, without Jalen Brown, they're just not that good
Not
because
good. Yeah.
they don't have a bench. They lost Gordon Hayward. They lost Kyrie Irving, all these guys, right? And then Kemba Walker has been battling injuries this whole season as well. Same with Marcus Smart. Uh, Tristan Thompson's not the greatest this season, and they lost Daniel Tice, so it's just Jason Tatum. He might drop 60, and if for them to win, he probably has to drop 60. But this Wizards team's not that great too, but they just have a little bit more than just Jason Tatum. So I'm gonna give them the nod, go up to 7th seed.
Yeah, I agree, and I think also the Wizards like just feel like they have more positive like energy around them. I don't know if that matters at all, but like just with the way the Celtics have out underperformed expectations this year, and Jalen Brown being out, they have no playoff hopes. The Wizards probably don't, but at least like Westbrook and Beal have something to play for. And if this team can squeak into an 8 seed and give the Nets like an exciting series at least, I think I think they're just going to be playing really hard this game.
Yeah, and there's nothing else to really say about that. Like, there's no Jalen Brown. He kind of
Yeah,
season's kind of wrapped with his injury.
yeah,
But then the 8-9, that's a little more interesting because you have the beat up Celtics versus the beat
right.
up Pacers, which is who we have going through. For me, I still am going with Jason Tatum. Malcolm Brogdon's a bit low hurt. Miles Turner's hurt. That team's not healthy. Obviously, Jalen Brown's hurt. We mentioned that like a million times, but he's really important. And when it's just Tatum versus Sabonis and Levert, I'm gonna give it to Tatum.
That was exactly my thinking. I think the Pacers, even without the guys they're missing, like Brogdon and Miles Turner, they're probably the more well-rounded and deep team. But I think in one game, I'm just going to pick Jason Tatum. He's by far the best player in that series, and he, like you said, might drop 60. He's going to take over. I could see the Pacers winning, but I'm just going to lean Celtics.
Yeah, if Malcolm Brogdon and Miles Turner were healthy, like these last two games, I probably would have won
Yeah,
Pacers.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, they're not. So
yeah,
injuries kind of make up the whole East plains.
yeah.
That's how you summarize them.
So that would mean that the Celtics are in as the 8 seed and the Wizards are in as the 7 seed for both of us. All right, cool. So
Yeah.
let's go on to the West play-ins. The obviously the one that everyone has been talking about the most is going to be the Warriors and Lakers. Let's start with the 10-9 matchup, the Spurs at the Grizzlies. I have the Spurs taking this one. I wasn't really sure about that. I just feel like Greg Popovich one game. This is just it just has the Spurs win. The less hype, the less exciting, the less sexy team written all over it. I think I just think they're gonna squeak out a win here.
I actually have the Grizzlies winning this one, but
Mm,
that's just because, man, I just saw the Spurs lose to the
yeah,
Suns bench the last game. They're on a 4 game losing streak. At the end of the day, this is not a playoff team. Doesn't have playoff talent.
yeah,
It's kind of just DeMar DeRozan and kind of Greg Popovich. Those two guys were just kind of rooting for them, and they're just good enough to get the 10th seed. But man, I think John Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Dylan Brooks, they have enough guys to will them to that win and get them that 9th seed play in
yeah.
like opportunity secured.
And the guy you didn't mention there is DeMar DeRozan's former teammate Valanciunas. Has
Jonas
been going
Valanciunas, yeah,
off. Has been going off. Low key, really, really good season from this year, and he
yeah,
double digit boards like 15, 14, 15, 16 points, something like that.
pretty good, yeah.
I honestly the Grizzlies are the more logical pick. The only reason I'm picking the Spurs is because of Greg Popovich. But it
No
probably should.
Derek White is gonna be
Yeah,
huge for them. Yeah,
yeah,
no Derek
uh,
White, LMAO, LaMarcus Aldridge retired, so
yeah,
it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. They're not fitted for this season. I think they're gonna let DeMar go. I think Greg
mhm,
Popovich this is probably his last year. I think they're gonna start a
yeah,
rebuild. And it's gonna be interesting to see, man. The Spurs organization is always a good one. Get a couple young guys and they can turn it around quickly.
yeah. We know they're gonna play hard though. Like they're not just gonna roll
Yeah,
over and not care about
yeah,
that
for
game. It's
sure.
gonna be a hard fought game.
A lot of Demar ISO.
Lot of DeMar ISO, and if they can get it done defensively, against Jaren Jackson Jr. He's back, but he's not really like in form yet.
100%.
So
Yeah,
I don't know. You never know. The Grizzlies probably are definitely the safer pick there because it was almost a playoff level game yesterday against the Warriors for them, and they brought it really close. Steph just
yeah,
ended up killing them at the end, but they brought it really close. So they probably are the better team and have already played in a really meaningful game. So yeah, and then the game everyone's been talking about the probably this game alone makes the play-in tournament a success for the NBA and probably makes it a lot going forward. I think we're both going to pick the Lakers in this game.
yeah.
Do you see a situation where the Warriors could win?
Maybe if Steph Curry drops like 85 points. But like, yeah, man,
Yeah.
this is just written for the Lakers win. We have one team like the Warriors, we have them as a really tough first round out, and we have the Lakers as contenders. Like
Yeah.
if LeBron did roll his ankle, so that's something to look out for. to end the last game. So if he's not 100%, then that could obviously change everything. But assuming everyone's 100%, like that's still playing, LeBron 80, just too much for Curry and Draymond Green.
Yeah, I think you said Steph Curry has to drop 85. I actually think like that is the only way that they can win
Yeah,
because just pure size, even just like even if LeBron has an off night, even if Davis has an off night, if they're not hitting their threes, I think just pure size, Andre Drummond, Davis, LeBron, I with Draymond Green starting at center and like Wiggins on the wing and all those guys, I don't see a situation where the Warriors could win unless Steph Curry literally isos every possession and he's being triple teamed and just hits every shot, I guess. But that's the only way I see.
yeah, like the Warriors' big three for scoring is like Steph Curry, Andrew Wiggins, and like Jordan Poole.
Yeah,
Like they just have more talent. Like this Lakers team has LeBron, Anthony Davis, Andre Drummond, Montrezl Harrell, Dennis Schroeder, like Marcus Gasol is a solid bench piece. KCP has really improved this season. Kyle Kuzma, Anthony like Crusoe, like they're just a better team, like
yeah,
overall, and they have the star power of LeBron to match Curry.
yeah,
So it's still gonna be a close game because Curry,
yeah.
I think, will be able to pull him to a close game, but like probably like a 10-point win for the Lakers.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. And in all the time that like I know the Lakers obviously fell down the standings a lot when their stars went out, but I was so impressed by like Caruso, even Kuzma played a lot better. KCP, like you said, like their depth to me looks like I actually kind of like their depth, like especially at
Yeah.
guard, like with Caruso and KCP and all those guys. Like I said, they're fully healthy. Everyone's back now. I don't know if LeBron's at 100%.
Hmm.
But this playing game might be exactly what he needs, exactly what they need to, get
Like
one
rev
like
up.
high intensity rep in there
Yeah.
and like you said, rev up just for a matchup with probably the Suns in round one.
Yeah. And that means we have the same 8-9 matchup, Warriors
Yeah,
versus Grizzlies. And I think just like the game that we just saw, super high intensity, going to be super close.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, if it's super close, I'm going to give it to the best player. I think Steph Curry is going to edge him slightly, but I think it's going to be a really close matchup. And I could see it going both ways. Like the Grizzlies aren't slouches and the Warriors aren't locks for this spot. But I think Steph Curry is just going to have a little bit over John Morant and he's going to get it done.
yeah. I agree. I don't see Steph losing a game like this where it's like when he's obviously the overwhelming underdog. He's probably losing to the Lakers, but when it's close like this and you have
Got to
Steph
give it to the
Curry,
best player.
I think you have to give it to the best player. And it's not like I
Yeah.
know the surrounding cast of the Grizzlies is better, like Valanciunas, Jaren Jackson Jr., all those guys we talked about, but it's
Yeah.
not like that much better. The Warriors do have a couple of guys who can do
Yeah.
something. So
Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins,
yeah,
they're not
exactly.
nobodies. Andrew Wiggins can still score a little bit, and Draymond Green, still one of the best defenders and playmakers out of that center position.
Yeah, like if they're running high pick and roll with Draymond Green and Steph, and they're bringing like Valanciunas out to the 3 point line, they we've
It's
seen
going to be
that
hard.
cause a lot of problems for the Raptors
Yeah.
in playoff series with really good guards and stuff like that. So that's
It's going to
something
be
to look out
tough.
for. Yeah, but it'll be
Yeah.
a close game. It'll be a good game, really high intensity, like we saw yesterday.
For sure. For sure.
All right, so that means the both of us have the playoff matchups in the
That's
East being Sixers Celtics, in the 1-8, 2-7 is Nets Wizards, and then 3-6 Bucks Heat, and 4-5 Knicks Hawks. Which series do you want to start with?
Let's just start with the 1-8, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so I have
And
the Sixers. Sorry, no. Do you want to go or?
no, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I have the Sixers taking this in 5.
Yeah, I'm going to say finally the Sixers beat the Celtics. And I think it's in a sweep. I just can't see
Wow.
Jason Tatum getting it, enough offense by himself to get a game. I think it's a sweep. Ben Simmons probably the best player you want to guard a Jason
Yep.
Tatum type player.
Yeah.
And then you have Joel Embiid getting guarded by Tristan Thompson. Oh man, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. And who's guarding Tobias Harris on that team?
I
Evan
don't know.
Fournier.
I guess.
So yeah,
I
Tobias Harris
guess.
is also dropping 30.
Yeah.
Easy dub. Easy dub. 4 games. Not even a question.
I like it should be a sweep, but I'm giving one game to the Celtics because like I can just see like a Tatum like 55-point game, where you just no one can stop him, even Ben Simmons. Maybe it's 3-0, maybe it's a gentleman sweep. Uh, you know,
Yeah.
I just think the Celtics have too much pride, and they still do have talent to get swept, but it might
Kemba
be a
too.
sweep.
Kemba too.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like,
Kemba might help out with that offense enough where it's like 30-30 and they get that one game. I just don't see Kemba Walker being the same player as he was even last
yeah,
playoffs. Even he wasn't even that good last playoffs, but man, that hip injury really or was it even a hip injury or a knee injury or something? He just hasn't been the same. He's trying facilitating more, but now he can't really facilitate more because the option that he was facilitating to, Jalen Brown, is hurt. So
Yeah,
this is just a team that's not used to playing like this. They're not used to being Kemba the second option. They're not used to Evan Fournier being the third option. Like they're just not used to playing enough. It's kind of like what the Clippers had last year, where they're not used to it,
yeah,
except to like a more extreme extent with less talent. So it's
yeah.
never gonna work out.
Yeah, it's not going to be a pretty series. I think they're going to get dominated size wise. Like you said, Tristan Thompson guarding Embiid.
Not
Um,
the greatest.
Ben Simmons, probably getting guarded by, I don't even know, Fournier, Kemba,
Tatum,
Tatum, right? It's gonna be
tough.
really tough. Size, they're
Yeah.
gonna get absolutely dominated size wise. And even if the Sixers have a couple off games, they're still gonna win just because of rebounding and rim protection and all that stuff.
Yeah. And I think Celtics fans are probably just hoping they lose the play-in, get a high pick because
Yeah.
they know they have no chance with this. But I think the other series in this East are going to be more interesting. The 2-7. I think we should just move on to that.
Yeah.
We see Kevin Durant and the Nets versus his former teammate, his former running buddy, Russell Westbrook,
Yeah.
and the Wizards. Hopefully, Bradley Beal's 100% by this time rolls around. I don't think he will be. And because of that, and I think that'll kind of equate with Harden not being 100% too.
Hmm.
And I still think it's going to be a 4-0 sweep for the Nets.
I gave the Wizards one game. I'm gonna be honest. I think this is my favorite. It's not my favorite series, but out of all the matchups that we could have gotten out of the play-in for the Nets, I'm so happy it's the Wizards because of the Russell Westbrook piece, like you said. But also, I
Yeah.
think the Wizards are going to be able to score on them. It's not going to be it's going to be a fun series to watch. Like Russell Westbrook's
Yeah.
going to be running at
140,
110%.
130.
Right,
Yeah.
it's going to be well, like you said, 140 to 130, and they're not going to be able to stop a nosebleed against the Nets,
Yeah.
but they're going to be able to score. And I think there might just be like a 35, 15, and 11 game for Westbrook in there, and Beal's going to hit like 20 or like take 23s and hit like 12 of them. There's
Yeah.
going to be one game like that, and I think this is the perfect series for the Wizards because they're not winning anything in the playoffs this year. This is kind of the perfect series for them, getting that play and win, and then like having an exciting, respectable series against the stacked Nets makes this
Yeah.
season success for them. And they can feel good about it going into the offseason.
Yeah. Like a while back, the Blazers were swept by the Warriors,
Yeah,
but it was like every game was close, and
yeah,
everyone's like, "Oh man, like the Blazers could still do that." I think it could be like that, another backcourt high scoring thing, kind of similar to the Blazers. Maybe they need to surround with better defenders. Thomas
oh yeah,
Bryant's
oh
returning,
yeah,
so hopefully he's a better improvement too. This season, it might be a sweep for the series, but I could see Bradley Beal maybe even like breaking like Michael Jordan's 63-point like record. Like
yeah,
it's gonna be
yeah,
crazy. And if I have to bet on someone breaking Michael Jordan's record, which hasn't been broken in what, like 40 years, it would be in this series.
yeah,
Donovan Mitchell came close last season against the Nuggets, but I think this series, man, like this is the time for Bradley
yeah.
Beal. He might get swept, but at least go get that record.
Yeah, and this just like Westbrook is there. He's in the news so much right now. Like there's so much love and respect for Westbrook because of
Yeah,
him breaking the triple double record. And even though this is going to be an absolute, maybe not a sweep, it's going to be a domination by the Nets. So they're going to win pretty easily. It can still be a good series for Westbrook. I think like no one expects them to do anything if he just has some close games, puts up some
yeah,
big numbers, and like makes it exciting, makes it interesting. I think it's only going to add to the love and the respect.
yeah, for sure. And I think just the Wizards are just gonna be so much respected here. They're like, man, these guys get some help, they can maybe do something. And I think they're gonna go in with that mentality to the offseason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then we all know like Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook in a playoff series against each other.
warming
That's
up.
just
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah. And more, all that stuff. All
James
right. So,
Harden
yeah.
warming
Oh,
up. That's the key
yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Is that going to be like the most nationally televised game of the Eastern Conference playoffs or series? Like, even though it's probably going to be the least close series or
I
one of them.
think I think that's gonna be the most in the first round.
Yeah.
Obviously, other
In
than
the first round, I
maybe
mean. Yeah. Yeah.
the play in, like that Warriors Lakers game, maybe that still beats it.
Yeah.
But in the first round, this Nets Wizards and maybe the Suns and Lakers,
Yeah.
one of those matchups will be the
Yeah.
best. Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to a really, really exciting series, a rematch of last year. We got the 3 seed Bucks going up against the 6 seed Heat. Do you have the Heat taking it again, or are the Bucks going to redeem themselves?
I'm giving it to Giannis. I'm giving it to
Yeah,
Drew Holiday. It's 6 games. I don't think Jimmy Butler is 100%. And that's basically it.
Yeah.
if your best Jimmy Butler is so important to this team, if he's not 100%, I don't see him doing it. And I think they made enough improvements where they know how to play against this wall. And I think Drew Holiday is good enough too, where he's just going to be a way better defender than anyone else they had on Jimmy before. So yeah, I give it to the Bucks in six. I think Drew Holiday is that good of a player. I think Jimmy's health is something to also take account. I think Drew Holiday switches it from a six loss to a six win, man, and that's why they traded all the picks there for him.
Yeah, I have Bucks and six too. I think Drew Holiday is the main reason for that too. PJ Tucker also is going to be really important for them too. He
Yeah,
can spend some time guarding Jimmy, maybe even guarding Bam.
Bam. Yeah,
Um, but like end of games when it gets close and Giannis is getting walled off, Drew Holiday is way better than Eric Bledsoe at creating his own shot. They can even run like pick and roll with him and like Middleton or something, even like Lopez or Bobby Portis or something. They just have way more options end of games. They're going to be able to guard. They're always able to guard, especially when if they shorten the rotation to like only seven, 8 guys, something like that. Um, I think it's not going to be an easy series, but I think they're going to win pretty confidently, and we know they're going to be motivated. We know Giannis is not going to. We're going to see a lot of really good Giannis games. I think he's going to be going full tilt and looking for revenge.
yeah, and I think Bobby Portis, someone I didn't mention, someone you did mention, definitely going to be a big factor this year with his shooting, with his spacing, and with his
Yeah,
quickness.
yeah,
And I think this just a better built roster. It's just better built
yeah,
around Giannis, and I think it'll finally be evidence.
yeah. Miami can build a nice wall. Like they got like the Iguodala, Riza, just
Bam,
Bam,
Jimmy.
Jimmy. Obviously, they have the guys to do that with. Um,
Yeah,
and out of all the teams except Philly, I would probably pick Miami to guard Milwaukee the best. But I think it really comes down to Drew Holiday. He's gonna be amazing guarding Jimmy Butler,
yeah,
amazing guarding Hero or whatever if that's what they decide to do, and he's gonna be able to score at the end of the game.
yeah. And we had this in six. Like the Heat still have a chance.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they still took advantage of that like spacing which the Bucks give on the 3 point line. And if a Tyler Hero is able to catch heat for the whole series, if a Duncan Robinson is able to catch heat for a whole series, if Goran Dragic returns to that 20-point scorer that he was last playoffs, then they could win the series. It's just we haven't seen Goran Dragic. Maybe we call him playoff Dragic because he's
mm,
kind of getting that reputation too. But if he plays like regular season Dragic, that ain't gonna happen. Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero did have better seasons, but they need to have really high efficient 3 point nights, a couple, like 3, 4 times at least. So yeah, it's gonna be tough, but they definitely have a chance. It's not like they're out of it.
yeah. And like it sucks for the Bucks to get this matchup round one. Like
Yeah,
they had such
the
a good
hardest one.
season, and they're getting by far the hardest matchup in round one out of any team. But maybe if Giannis handles this, if Giannis handles his business, averages like 30, 32 throughout the series, and they win in five, like it's gonna go a long way to kind of reversing some of that slander that he catches.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is the time for him to maybe make his name well known. He
Yeah,
signed 5 years.
yeah,
Put the Bucks on the map, man.
yeah,
Show him who Milwaukee is.
yeah. But this is gonna be hard to like. Even though we're predicting them to win, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard fought, and
Yeah.
they're gonna be like banged up, maybe a little rundown going into round two, and it's gonna be hard for them to go through these teams all the way to these conference finals and to the finals. Like without usually you get one easy playoff series to kind of ramp up into shape. It's gonna be tough.
Oh, yeah. If he wins it this year, it'll be a legendary run because we'll
Yeah,
talk about the other matchups, but
yeah,
it'll be a legendary run.
yeah. All right. So the last matchup in the Eastern Conference, the Knicks are the 4 seed against the Atlanta Hawks 5 seed. Who could have predicted at the beginning of the year that the Knicks and
Yeah.
Hawks were going to be a 4 or 5 seed? But I think this is one of the most interesting and exciting series in the first round. I think it's going 7. I have the Knicks winning it in 7, but I can see it going the other way too.
Yeah, I have the Hawks winning it in seven,
Mm,
just because I think they just lack a playmaker, the Knicks, and I think they're gonna really expose that. I think they're gonna send doubles, triples on Julius Randle, and if he's able to really work out those doubles and triples, then man, he's gonna go down as
yeah,
an amazing playoff run, an amazing series. Like he's gonna be amazed. Like it's gonna be crazy. But I just think the amount of depth and playmakers the Hawks have, it's much harder to just focus in on Trey Young because
yeah,
he's just gonna give it to Bogdanovich, go create a play, go ISO something, or he's gonna give it to Gallinari like, hey, stretch out Julius Randle, shoot some threes. He's gonna give it to John Collins, like work your thing in the post, maybe try to run a pick and roll with like King Capella. He has so much options. Where the Knicks offense is kind of just like Julius Randle.
Yeah.
Like you have to do everything, right? So
Yeah.
it's gonna be tough. 7 game series because the Knicks are just way better defensively than the Hawks. So like they can still lock them up and stuff like that. And D Rose, I still have faith in him. He could still have a decent series, especially offensively because Trey Young's probably guarding him. So he can average like 20 in a playoff series, which is gonna be
Yeah.
great to see. Gonna be one of the funnest series. Gonna go to 7. You have the Knicks, I have the Hawks. I think we just have to both agree this goes to 7. It's on
Yeah.
paper, it's super close.
Yeah, it's super close. I think the Hawks have the better team on paper. Like you
Yeah,
said, they have more playmakers, more offensive options. The Knicks are obviously the better defensive team. They played 3 times this season, and Julius Randle averaged 37 points in those 3 games.
yeah,
Now I don't know how many games Capella played because that's obviously a huge difference. Capella's an amazing defender, amazing rim protector. But if the Knicks can like slow the pace down and play it like at their speed, or like play like a 98 to 95 game instead of
yeah,
running down the court like the Hawks are going to want to do. That's why I think like their defense is going to win out. And if Randall can play amazing, if Derrick Rose has been averaging 18 since like in the last month or something like that, he's been playing amazing. RJ Barrett is going to have something to prove in this series. It's going to be fun. It's going to go 7. We're going to see a lot of bad shooting performances from the Knicks. We're going to see a lot of great defensive performances from the Knicks. And it's going to be fun to watch Trey Young in the playoff series.
yeah, man. And as much as we talk about Julius Randle and kind of the league's talking about Julius Randle, Trey Young's building his legacy too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like 27-9, back-to-back seasons, fifth seed, uh, 41 and 31, good record. Really good record since the new coach.
Yeah.
Uh, one of the best records since the hiring.
Yeah.
So he's building his legacy. If he gets a playoff win, a series win already, like that's going to be good such
Yeah.
a early on in his career. It's going to be good for John Collins's contract negotiations too, because basically it locks him at a max. So yeah, a lot to go with the offseason for this. Whoever wins this series is going to be happy. I think they're happy that they're in here as well as 4 and 5 seeds. But you know who's really happy that these two teams are playing each other? That's the 76ers. Because whoever is coming out of the series is losing in 5 or 6 to the 76ers.
Yeah, the Sixers have a guaranteed Eastern Conference Finals berth. Let's go on to round 2 then. I have Sixers Knicks. You have Sixers Hawks.
Yeah,
I think I might be a little more on the Knicks than you. I have the Sixers taking that in 6. You said
yeah,
4 or 5. I have the Sixers beating the Knicks 4-2, 6 games.
yeah. If it was the Knicks, I'll probably go 6 as well. Julius Randle
Mm,
has a little size.
yeah,
Nerlens Noel is not the greatest like one-on-one defender, but
yeah,
he's great at getting blocks. He's great at disrupting defenses. Great at help defender. Uh, for the Hawks, I just think, man, like Ben Simmons on Trey Young is just
yeah,
such a bad matchup. So I think that'll be like a 5 or 4. And like as good as Clint Capella is,
yeah,
J- Joel Embiid is still going to take you out of the game. And if Clint Capella's out of the game, the Hawks aren't really viable against the 76ers. So yeah, 76ers would be the Hawks. If they're there, probably in like 5. If the Knicks are there, I'm going to give Julius Randle 2 games because he's just that good.
yeah.
But it's going to be, I'll be shocked if the 76ers don't make the Eastern Conference Finals.
Oh, I would be absolutely shocked. I can't even imagine a situation like.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if the Knicks beat the Sixers in like a game 7 or something? Like how crazy New York would go. They have some fans in MSG that like,
New York matchup. Oh,
oh
wow.
my, that would just be
Crazy.
insane. But there's absolutely no way. This is so perfect. It's lining up so perfectly for the Sixers.
Yeah.
Easy round 1. Um, but against like a respected team in the Celtics, they can like
Yeah.
assert their dominance, and then round 2, whoever it is, the Hawks, Knicks, they're gonna win. But it's not gonna be like, especially if
It's
it's
not
the
going to be a
Knicks,
sweep.
it's not gonna be a sweep. It's gonna be like
Yeah.
competitive games. The Knicks are gonna really be fighting. So it's still gonna
Yeah.
be a respectable series, and they're gonna probably be nicely well rested and fully healthy, hopefully going into the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah. And it's going to just give confidence to them too.
Yeah,
Because as you get what they're, like Doc Rivers is a good player coach, he could be like, this is all you guys needed, man. You guys just need shooters. You could talk to the duo like that. It's like, I know we're going up against the Giants, whether that be the Nets or the Bucks, probably the
yeah,
Nets. I know we're going at these Giants, but you guys are Giants yourself. Good motivation for them. And they're going to be healthy, hopefully, because that's the only reason I see them losing if they're not healthy. But hopefully they're healthy, and they're going to be a tough out in the Eastern Conference
Yeah,
Finals.
very tough. All right, so let's go on to the
The other
Nets and
second round,
Bucks. That's going to be another great series. How many games do you see this going?
I see it going 6. I think
Mm,
it's going to be the toughest matchup for the Nets, but they're still going to win in 6 because they just have that much talent.
mm. Well, I have it going 7. I have the Nets taking it in 7. Um, I think it's going to be like the Bucks are probably the best defensive team to go up against the Nets. You can put Giannis on Kevin Durant. You got
KD,
Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday to guard the Kyrie and James Harden.
Harden.
They're going to be able to score. The Nets don't have a single guy who can even like touch Giannis. Um, it's going to be really, really fun basketball to watch, really high quality. But the Nets superstars are just going to give them the edge.
Yeah, I think when you just look at like close game situation,
Yeah.
if like Giannis gets the ball, they're just going to foul him, right?
Mm.
And like if he can hit his free throws, then the Bucks probably get through this series, probably win the championship even. But Giannis has not been able to hit free throws in clutch situations for a while now, at least in playoff situations.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look on the other hand, you have Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden in close game situations. So I think every game's going to be close. I think it can go 7 games. I just think when every game goes close, I think the Nets just have such a overwhelming advantage in those clutch
Yeah.
situations
Yeah.
that they're gonna win it. But man, this defense of the Bucks is
Yeah.
on paper one of the best ones. I know it's not the best this season, but on paper, like man-to-man defense, which is
Yeah.
played a lot in playoffs, can be incredible. But man, this is just too much talent. Too much talent on the Nets.
Yeah, I think you're right about that end of game stuff because like through the first 3.5 quarters, like I think it could even just be like straight up even,
Yeah,
even just like on paper with considering the Bucks defense. But when it comes down to it, you have 3 guys on the Nets who can all create and
super
make any
clutch.
shot from anywhere on the floor. And you know what the Bucks are going to be doing on offense. Drew Holiday and Middleton add like nice little wrinkles and unpredictability, but it's going to be Giannis. And like you said, like we all talk about, oh, Giannis needs to add a 3-point shot, needs to add a mid-range shot. If he could just shoot 80% from the line, they
Yeah,
might have won the championship in 2019. Like it
yeah,
was almost hack a Shaq levels in the Raptors series, and that was one of the reasons they lost that series. So if Giannis can hit his free throws this series, maybe they pull off an upset. But you're right. End of games, it's just the Nets are gonna have the advantage.
yeah. And if Giannis, he could prove us wrong, man. Like, prove us it's not a hack a Shaq type situation anymore. Prove us not, you don't even need to be like a Michael Jordan or a Steph Curry type level where you're shooting crazy amounts. Prove like you're like a LeBron level where you're shooting at least like 70%. And
Yeah.
people are gonna bring up stats right now and be like, oh, he look at the regular season, he's a better shooter and stuff. But I'm saying like in clutch situations,
Yeah.
you're more likely to get a miss from Jan. And he just has to be better at that aspect of the
Yeah.
game. And I think
If,
he knows that too. And it's gonna be a good matchup, man. They're gonna challenge the Nets as much as anyone else in the NBA can.
yeah. If the Bucks do somehow pull out the series and Giannis just goes insane,
Huge,
this
huge.
changes the top 5 and player rankings. It just changes everything. Giannis's legacy, everything. They're just the next 10 years of the NBA looks different.
Yeah, but for me, like Giannis is 25. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
LeBron didn't beat the Boston Celtics when he was 25.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan didn't beat the Detroit Pistons when he was 25. And this is just one of those teams, one of those super teams that's going to beat up on Giannis, build his legacy of
Hmm.
teams he lost to when he was a kid. Hopefully, he adds these elements to his games as he gets older and
Yeah.
enters that great prime of his career.
Yeah. And some people are bringing up like comparisons of the Nets to the last year's Clippers, where like the Clippers didn't really play together too much, Paul George and Kawhi, and then they got to the playoffs and they're like, oh, look, we have no chemistry, and they just couldn't play together. From the time that the Nets have played together, it's only 7 games, but the groups of 2 played together a bunch.
Yeah.
There was no chemistry problems. Like in fact, it looked like some of the best basketball we've ever seen. So I'm not worried about that aspect at all.
Yeah. And they just have 3 guys. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you like for the net, like the Clippers and things situation, it was just like focus on those 2 guys, make anyone else beat us. Okay, you focus on, let's say, Kyrie and KD. James Harden's going to beat you. Oh, yeah, he's going to beat
Yeah.
you every night. So
Yeah.
it's just way more talent, and it's going to be showing this whole playoff run, I think.
Yeah. But these like we're getting some really, really good series in the East. It's going
Yeah.
to be super exciting. And then, okay, so we're done with the East.
No, we have
No, sorry, sorry,
76ers
sorry, my
Nets.
bad. Like we're on to the
Okay.
Eastern Conference Finals now. We have the Sixers
Okay.
Nets in the Eastern Conference Finals. Um, I have the Nets taking that in 7 games.
Yeah, so do I. Same kind of situation we talked about.
Yeah,
They're at great, but they're not end game closers. Embiid and
yeah,
Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris is their end game closer, and then end game closers, KD, Harden,
yeah,
Kyrie. Just too much
yeah,
talent. If any of these teams can't beat them, because man, if they're not healthy, like the Raptors won a championship because Kevin Durant wasn't healthy.
yeah,
One of these teams can win a championship too if Kevin Durant's not healthy again. So
yeah.
health is the issue. If they're all healthy, we have the Nets easily making the finals.
Do you have it going 7 too?
Yeah, I'm going 7 as well.
Yeah, I think it's very similar argument to the Bucks, like the end of game, the closers and stuff like that. Embiid is gonna go ridiculous this
Crazy.
series. He's gonna go insane. He might average like 38 in this series,
Yeah,
but it comes down to like outside of Embiid, who
talent.
do you trust as a scorer? Like Tobias Harris, I guess.
Yeah,
Like they
that's
have
it.
shooters, but Ben Simmons is not going to be scoring a ton, right? Like it's just like
Yeah,
Thibault, he's not going to be scoring. It's just they're going to defend amazing. They're going to dominate the paint, but when it comes down to it, Brooklyn's going to be able to close out every game,
yeah.
every close
Danny
game.
Green has won the last 2 championships though, so that's something to
Hmm.
watch out for. Danny Green's trying to go for that personal three-peat, and
Never been done
it's
before.
funny because it's actually been done by Patrick McCaw.
No, but three-peat on 3 different
Three
teams.
separate. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Patrick McCaw did 2 on the Warriors
yeah,
and
yeah.
1 on the Raptors, but it's going to be interesting to see. Uh, and we joke about Danny Green, but he's actually playing a really important role in this
Yeah,
because if he shoots like 45, 50%, same with Seth Curry. Like if these shooters go off, then they have a chance. But if they don't go off, if Danny Green shoots like he did before in some finals and playoff series, then
yeah.
it's not going to be close. We just hope they at least shoot what they're shooting like in the regular season, so the Stars have a chance.
Why does every finals seem to come down to if Danny Green can shoot 40% from three,
Yeah,
they're gonna win?
just man. If you're a contender and you need a
Yeah,
starting shooting guard for cheap, Danny Green.
guaranteed finals appearance seems like.
Yeah,
Okay, so that means we both have the Nets as predicted. As soon as they got James Harden going to the finals, maybe a little bit harder of a road than we thought. But let's move on to the West. So round one in the West, we've got the 1-8 Jazz Warriors, 2-7 Suns Lakers, 3-6 Nuggets Blazers, and 4-5 Clippers Mavericks. Another rematch. Let's start with the 1-8 matchup again. Who do you have taking Jazz Warriors?
I have the Jazz,
Yeah.
but in 7.
Ooh.
And the reason I think it's going so long, and I think people are glossing over this fact, man, when's the last time Donovan Mitchell's played? Like,
Yeah.
how do people expect him to just come back in at 100%? Like, he's not going to be 100%. And if Donovan Mitchell's not playing in the series, I think a lot of us will go with the Warriors winning the series. But
Yeah.
he's going to come back. He's going to come back at 80%, ramp himself up. And I think it's just going to take 7 games because Donovan Mitchell's not 100%. And this is probably the worst matchup for Rudy Gobert, as instead of guarding a traditional center who's trying to score or something, he's guarding Draymond Green who's just trying to pass
Yeah.
and not even shoot a shot. So it's gonna
Yeah.
be tough for him too.
Yeah, I have the Jazz taking it in 6. They're just so much deeper. Now,
Yeah,
obviously, if Mitchell's not healthy, that like really
changes it.
changes things. And
Yeah,
that's a good point you brought up. This is probably the worst matchup in the whole playoffs for Rudy Gobert. If Draymond Green can take him out, Draymond Green is going to be looking for ways to take Gobert out of the like out of the like out of the game, whether it's with
out of the
fouls,
game.
just
Yeah,
bring him out to the 3 point line. If he can do that and reduce it to like a Steph versus Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley and
yeah.
whatever Joe Ingles, Jordan Clarkson game, then the Warriors could take this series. Like it would be really hard. Steph would have to go ballistic, but Draymond Green versus Rudy Gobert is a really interesting matchup.
Especially if Donovan Mitchell comes in on like a minutes limit, man, because
Yeah,
we know some of these games are probably gonna go overtime, and if he can't play those overtimes or like if he's limited and like he has to sub out here and there, like it's gonna be tough. And missing your star player for 3 weeks, you're not the Nets where you have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving
yeah,
who could still reassure us like, oh, it
yeah,
doesn't matter, they'll get back. It's just going to be a lot. I still have them in 7. I think just the overall depth. They have probably the defensive player of the year with Rudy Gobert,
yeah,
probably the sixth man of the year with Jordan Clarkson. So it's just depth versus Steph Curry and Draymond Green.
yeah,
And I'm still gonna go 7 because that's how good those 2 guys are.
yeah, yeah. But like I would not be shocked. This series feels like it could be like
Upset.
Donovan Mitchell comes back. He's not 100%. He hasn't played in a while. The Warriors split the games in Utah 1-1, and then suddenly they're up 2-1. After
Yeah,
3 games, it just has that kind of feeling. But I think ultimately the Jazz are gonna. They're the one seed for a reason. They have really good
yeah,
depth, really good top seven, and if Mitchell even gets healthy for the last 3 or 4 games of the series, I think they'll take it.
yeah. And their shooting is also incredible. We talk about Steph Curry, Steph
Yeah,
Curry, Steph Curry.
yeah,
The Jazz as a team is crazy at shooting.
yeah,
So that they could this could be a shooting not contest too, where they both score a lot of points,
yeah. Pretty much every
which will be
player
yeah,
outside of Gobert is a great shooter on that team.
yeah, which is gonna be fun to see.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so the 2-7 matchup, the Phoenix Suns, who almost grabbed the 1 seed but fell just a little bit short. Now with the face the Lakers, the feel good Suns, Chris Paul, Devin Booker. Maybe they could go to a finals. We all thought they're matched up against the defending champ Lakers in the first round. I have them losing in 6. What do you see happening?
I have the Lakers winning in 7. I think the
Mm,
Clippers, not the Clippers. I think the Clippers did avoid the Lakers. We'll talk about
yeah,
that later. But
yeah,
Chris Paul is great. Devin Booker is great. DeAndre Ayton's great. Mikal Bridges is great. Cameron Payne and all the bench guys pretty good. It's just they don't have enough experience to like stop LeBron and AD. I think Chris Paul can rally them as much as he wants, but
hmm
Devin Booker is the closer. And man, when like a 7 game situation, which I think the series is gonna go to, I'm gonna give it to the old guys with the experience,
yeah,
the former champions, LeBron and AD. I think they're gonna take this one.
yeah. I just think the Lakers' size is going to be too much for them. They're playing 3 guys pretty much over 6'9", and LeBron, AD, and Andre Drummond. Like Aiton's been a really good defender this year, but outside of him, they don't have any. Like Jay Crowder's a nice defender,
Uh,
but they just
yeah,
don't
Jay
have this.
Crowder,
They don't have the size. Like,
Bridges, Jay Crowder, Bridges, Aiton. I think they're decent size wise at guarding LeBron and AD.
hmm,
I don't see Andre Drummond being a big playoff factor. I don't know if you do. That's why you think his size is more important.
hmm,
I think he's a good maybe first half type player, but I
yeah,
think they're going to be closing a lot with Montrezl Harrell kind of coming into that 4-5 spot and AD moving to that like center spot guarding Aiton.
yeah. I don't think he's going to close games. He's definitely going to start games. He's probably going to play
Yeah,
20 to 24 minutes a game, somewhere around there. But he can grab in
yeah,
20 minutes. He can grab 15 boards and put up like
yeah,
20
crazy.
points pretty easily. Uh,
Yeah,
Especially like if you don't have the size to deal with them. I think LeBron is not going to take any chances. He's going to be going a full tilt. Now, if he's not fully healthy, maybe this is a different
oh,
story.
different
But
story.
different story. But Davis has been playing amazing. Like he, a couple games were shaky when he came back, but he's been really, really. He looked like Anthony Davis now. Um,
Yeah,
and I just think the Lakers are too talented, too deep. Even with like Caruso and KCP and even Kuzma playing better, like all these guys, Schroeder, like I just think they have too much.
elite defense too. This Lakers team's elite defending, and
Yeah,
Chris Paul's gonna. They're still gonna have. They're not the greatest guard defenders. Like Dennis Schroeder
yeah,
and
yeah.
KCP and stuff. Like they're good defenders. KCP is a good defender,
Caruso's
but
good.
yeah, but they're guarding
Yeah,
Chris Paul and Devin Booker, so
yeah,
it's gonna be a tough matchup for them, and that's why I'm going 7. I think those two are gonna go off on the
yeah.
backcourt, and I think LeBron AD is gonna go off on the front court.
Hmm.
Good matchup. I think it's gonna be one of the best matchups. I think this is setting up for LeBron to have one of those
Yeah.
like crazy runs. Like, oh man, you beat this like 2-seeded juggernaut Chris Paul, Devin Booker, then like keeps going and like it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, that's a good point. They don't really have a guy to put on Booker. Like I guess it would be KCP. KCP's like what,
KCP, 100%.
6'4". Booker's like a 6'7".
6'6",
He
6'4",
six
6'6".
six.
They're not that big a difference.
I guess not. But yeah, the backcourt's gonna go off for the Suns. I'm
Yeah,
just wondering, like, is it the Suns play super slow half court offense like Chris Paul style? Do
it's
you think
LeBron.
like yeah? What do you think?
It's gonna be
Do you think it's
tough.
gonna be a slow, low scoring series, or I can see it going either way, really.
I think it's gonna go slow. I think
Yeah,
both teams will want to try and play like that. And I think with that, watch out for Andre Drummond trying to get DeAndre Ayton into foul trouble, like just pushing those guys, like both of them trying to get in foul trouble. Because if Andre Drummond comes out, not that big of a deal. But if
yeah,
DeAndre Ayton comes out,
yeah,
huge deal. Because Anthony
huge
Davis
deal.
is dropping 100 points now. Because there's no one else that could guard him. So it's gonna be tough. Jay Crowder, we seen him try to guard Andy Davis and LeBron James last finals with the Miami Heat.
He
He
tried.
was good. He was good,
Yeah,
but he's just too short for Andy
yeah.
Davis, and it's gonna show again this series.
Yeah, that's a good point you brought up. Like with the behind Aiton, they have what
Sarge,
Saric and Jalen Smith, the rookie. Like if Aiton gets in foul trouble and the minutes Aiden's not playing, that's like it's not great behind like depth wise. But then you look at behind AD and Andre Drummond, you got Marcus Gasol, you got Montrezl Harrell,
Montezero,
you know, a lot of depth on the Lakers, a lot of options.
yeah. Morris too, one of the Morris
Yeah,
twins.
yeah,
He could come
yeah,
in and play solid minutes too. Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be a close matchups. I think we all agree. Lakers. I think it's the favorite to choose the 7th seed for once.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's crazy. All right, so a pretty interesting series, 3-6 matchup, Nuggets Blazers. It's really hard to predict what would happen in the series if Jamal Murray were healthy.
probably
I
go
would I
Nuggets
would go Nuggets for
easily.
sure. I thought they were title
Yeah,
contenders, but how do you see this going down?
as you said, Jamal Murray's not playing, so that's gonna be a huge impact. But I'm still gonna go Nuggets. I'm still going
Wow.
Nuggets in
Okay.
7.
Seven.
I just think my boy Campoza is gonna have a huge effect, and I think he's gonna be a legendary defender on Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. I know us and the Nuggets fans know how good he is, but I think after this series, the NBA is gonna know how good he is, and I think he's gonna have a great series locking up one of those two guys.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna put him on Dame, but obviously, with switches and everything, he's going to be on CJ a couple times too. And I think he's going to have a great series. I think he's going to have a legendary series. Like, this is the time everyone's going to know Capozo's name. And he's going to be like an Alex Caruso type legend. I know the subreddit, the Denver subreddit already loves him, but he's going to be NBA known because he's going to make them win in 7.
Wow. I when you said Nuggets, I wasn't expecting Campazzo to be the reason
Yeah,
that they take
yeah.
it. But I hate to hate on to rain on the Nuggets parade here, but I have it also going 7. But I have the Blazers taking it. I think it's gonna be really back and forth. Jokic is gonna dominate Campazzo, and he's gonna play the best defense he can. He plays like 6'3" level defense for a 5'7", 5'9" guy, whatever he is.
Yeah.
Um, Game 7 situation. I think the Blazers have too much offense, too many offensive options. Dame, it's going to be Dame time, and it's going to be, I
You
don't know.
say that, but
I can see it going either way. I
they
have it
have
going 7 games, but
it's like the same situation as before. You got the backcourt with
yeah.
uh Dame and CJ, obviously one of the well-known backcourts.
Hmm.
But then now you got the front court with the Nuggets.
Yeah. Gordon,
It's not just Jokic.
MPJ.
I like people who don't watch the Nuggets just think it's just Jokic going crazy. And he is. He's the MVP of the for the league for the reason. He's the best player this season. But MPJ, since Jamal Murray's injury, has stepped up. He's been a
Yeah.
20-point scorer. He's proven himself, and there's no one on the Trailblazers roster that could stop him. Robert
That's
Covington's
a
a
good point.
good team defender, but he's not a good one-on-one defender. Norman Powell, 6'3". Uh, Carmelo Anthony is like old, so he's not fast enough to do it.
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon is another great defender, which I mentioned with Campozo. Aaron Gordon's going to take out a Norman Powell. He's going to take out Carmelo Anthony if he gets hot. Like, he's another great wing defender that you could throw on those guys. Uh, Nurkic, not a good defender, man. Nurkic and Cantor,
Oh.
they're not good defenders. So Jokic, when he wants to score, which is going to be a lot this series, he's going to
Hmm.
get in there. And Damon CJ are just so good that even Camposa's amazing defense is not going to be able to like just cause a sweep or anything. But it's going to be a 7 game series. Jokic with the defenders, with MPJ stepping up and being a 20-point scorer. I think the Nuggets still win this series with Jamal Murray's injury in 7.
Yeah. See, I'm looking at the Nuggets, and like I'm looking at them as the former championship contender Nuggets who lost Jamal Murray and now are just like kind of sad. But if you actually just didn't know they had Jamal Murray and looked at their
Yeah,
team and
they're
was like
great.
Jokic, Aaron Gordon, and MPJ in the front court, that can do like some serious damage, especially to a team that can't defend like Portland. And then Campazzo with his defense and like Will Barton or
Will
whatever.
Barton,
Yeah.
solid, yeah.
Yeah. Like they're still a good team. Like they could definitely win this series. And Jokic, this is going to be a really fun Jokic series to watch for sure. Um, I'm just wondering, like, I think Portland's bench has some potential. Like Melo, I think Melo might have a pretty good series. I think he really fits well in that team. You're right about Covington. He's not like the greatest one-on-one defender,
One-on-one defender, yeah.
but Dame, CJ, and Norm Powell is such a good combination. And like we both have it going 7. Ultimately, it just comes down to who can win a big game 7 game. And I'm just going with Dame time.
Yeah, I agree. Dame, I think they're both equally as good players. Like, people would have them in rankings similar. I just think Dame has composer on him, a really
Hmm.
good defender, whereas Jokic has Nurkic on him, a really bad defender. And then that's going to be the thing, man. Like, both really good players, except Jokic's matchup is just so much better. It's so much easier for him, and it's gonna show. It's gonna show. Cantor is gonna try as well, but Cantor's not a good defender. We all know that,
Mhm.
but it's gonna be tough, man. Jokic is just too much of a unique matchup. Where if you
Yeah,
don't have like a system or a plan for him, he's gonna dominate you, and he's
yeah.
gonna show. He's gonna even in the losses because we expect this to go 7, so that I expect 3 Nuggets losses, he's still gonna have like 25, 5, and like 8. Like that's how good
Yeah.
he's gonna be. He's gonna average like 27 to 30 points this series with like 10 assists. Like it's gonna be incredible to watch.
He's gonna put on a show. And another thing to look out for is Nuggets have home court advantage with the altitude. You know,
Altitude, yeah,
so
plays a
it's
factor.
it always plays a factor. And yeah, it's just gonna be it's going to game 7, and it's gonna be
Sure.
Jokic versus Dame, and it's gonna be insane.
It's gonna be so fun.
Yeah. All right. So the final matchup in the first round of the Western Conference, a rematch of the first round last year, Clippers Mavericks. I have the Clippers asserting themselves in the West and taking this in 5.
Oh wow, that's I guess I have it in 6,
Mm,
but I don't think it's gonna be as dominant as a performance as a lot of people are expecting. I think from what we expected last playoffs was like a sweep even.
yeah.
Man, Luka Doncic, man.
Oh
He's
yeah.
just that guy. And KP, Christoph Porzingis, he's finally playing. He's shooting the ball decently. Last game he shot 80%. I know he hasn't shot best this whole season, but last game 80%. Not the greatest like cohesively with this team, but
Hmm.
they have enough they have enough around Doncic where he could win 2 games at least.
Yeah. I'm not sure about the supporting cast. Like Porzingis, there's no one I guess it would be Ibaka guarding Porzingis, which I don't know how well
When and
that's
when
gonna
is the
turn
last
out.
time Ibaka played? Like,
He played the last game of the season.
oh, okay, he came back and played.
He finally came back, but I guess he'd
Okay,
be good in Porzingis. I don't know how well that's going to turn out. Yeah, but Ibaka hasn't
yeah,
played in like forever, right? His conditioning is going to be like who
he's gonna have
knows.
to ramp it up. Yeah,
Um, I just think more the reason I'm picking the Clippers in 5 is because they caught so much hate and Paul George caught so much disrespect, and kind of rightfully so after that showing against the Nuggets last year. I think they're just not going to mess around and they're going to come out guns blazing, and Kawhi is just going to go off. Paul George is going to go off. And they're going to be they have those are the two best guys in the league. You probably want to put on Luca outside of Ben Simmons. So I
yeah.
think I just have the Clippers. I think they're the more talented team and probably the more motivated team.
And they have a third superstar, which is gonna be joining their team, playoff Rondo. He plays like
Yeah,
an all-star, so if he could still play like at his all-star level, then it'll be pretty interesting to watch. I think the Clippers do come through this, but they don't have as much of a they're not as much as like favorites as they were last season.
yeah,
I think this is good for them, man. Kawhi always performs as an underdog. No one expected
yeah,
that Raptors team to win a championship, and he was able to do it. So less media attention on him. I know he'll be happy with that.
yeah, for sure. And like who's stopping Kawhi and Paul George? Like I guess like Porzingis is a
Dorian
good
Finney-Smith.
protector. Dorian Finney-Smith. Like I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be really tough. All right, so round 2 in the West. That means we both have a Jazz Clippers 1-4, and then I have Lakers Blazers, and you have Lakers Nuggets. So let's
Nuggets.
start with the
Yeah,
one we agree about, Jazz Clippers. I have the Clippers taking that one in 6.
I have the Clippers taking that one in 7. I
Mm,
think if the Jazz do make it here somehow, like if that means Donovan Mitchell's healthy, and hopefully Donovan Mitchell's 100% come second round.
yeah,
And just like I said with Luka Doncic, Donovan Mitchell's another type of guy that could just keep his team in it, man. He's just like one of those playoff performers. He has the second highest playoff point total behind Michael Jordan. So he's showing that as a young guy, he's a playoff performer. Rudy Gobert, he might get played out of the series depending how good Ibaka shoots.
yeah,
So it's going to be tough. But I think Jazz shooting in depth should keep him into it until it comes to like the game 7 final game scenario. I have Kawhi Leonard just taking over there
yeah,
and just beating the top end talent of the Clippers are too much for the Jazz.
yeah. See, I'm picking this because of Kawhi and PG. I think they're gonna.
Yeah,
I'm just predicting them to go off the whole playoffs. I'm expecting a lot from them. They have a lot to prove. The Jazz, this is a winnable series for the Jazz. I think. Like if Gobert doesn't get
yeah.
played out of the game, if Ibaka's not like, let's say Ibaka's conditioning is just bad and he
And he
just
can't
can't play,
shoot crazy.
right?
Yeah,
And he can't shoot. like then we'll talk. Maybe the Jazz could actually take this. But as it stands, I think the Clippers are destined for the Western Conference Finals, and I think they're gonna play really well.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's time for the LA matchups kind of to come to fruition. Happened 1 year later than we expected, but I
Yep.
think this year it has to happen.
Yeah, it's going to. All right, so that means that was a little bit of a spoiler from you, but I have Lakers Blazers. You have Lakers Nuggets. I have the Lakers taking that in five if it's
I have
against the
the,
Blazers.
I have the Lakers taking it at 5, no matter what team comes, if it's the Blazers or the Nuggets. I just think they match up well against both teams.
Yep.
If you want someone to guard Jokic, you're gonna want it to be Anthony Davis. And we just seen what the sides did to the Blazers last playoff run, right? Like LeBron and Anthony Davis were just doing whatever they want, and that caused doubles, and that caused like KCP to have like so many open shots and become like an all-star kind of just from like hitting open threes.
Yeah.
It's just too much depth, too much size. Perfect defensive scheme. The Nuggets bring in Aaron Gordon.
Hmm.
Is low key an interesting note because LeBron shoots the worst when guarded by Aaron Gordon out of
Oh
anyone in the
wow.
league.
Wow.
So he is a good defender. And if Jamal Murray was here, I would say something that went against the norm, and I would say the Nuggets would win.
Wow.
But they just don't have the firepower without Jamal Murray. Lakers in 5.
Yeah. You know, I might even give Lakers in six if it's against the Nuggets, just because of that
Yeah,
Aaron Gordon piece. And even if Jokic is getting guarded by AD, we saw
he's still great.
he can still do his thing, right? And MPJ is like a huge wild card in this playoffs. But
Yeah,
if it's against the Blazers, like they just don't have the size. They have nowhere near the size. Now, like their guards, just like the Suns guards, are going to cause some problems. Damon CJ and Norm are obviously going to cause problems, but it's not going to be enough. And the Lakers are going to win in five, and it's going to be an LA Western Conference Finals.
yeah. The difference between the first round when Jay Crowder and Mikal Bridges and DeAndre Ayton guarding them, all three above average defenders to great defenders even. Now you have Nurkic,
Yeah.
Carmelo Anthony,
Ugh.
Derek Jones, and Robert Covington, a
Covington.
good team defender, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's not gonna work out.
No.
And yeah, Blazers, man, this is probably it for Terry Stotts. I hope they make a big trade. Maybe Norman Powell. I don't know what they're gonna do, but this might be it for the backcourt and the Blazers as we know it.
Yeah. Like how many times can you lose in the second round and
And
like
be
first
okay with it.
round and just
Yeah,
like keep running out the same team? Um, Dame is still good enough to build around him if you just change it up, right? So I don't know, but the coach is fired for sure, no matter what.
yeah.
All right, so that means the Western Conference Finals is LA. LA. They waited till this year when they weren't in the bubble and they could actually have like an LA matchup. Um, I have the Lakers taking that in six. What do you
I have
think?
Lakers in 7, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's gonna be a great matchup. And we know the stars: Kawhi,
Yeah,
PG, and LeBron, AD. The guy that's gonna be really important, the guy that I have pushing it to 7, is Serge Ibaka. Like the shooting,
hmm.
spacing, the mobility, something Montrezl Harrell lacked, something
Yeah,
Zubac lacks. Like, how well can you do, man? How well can Ibaka do guarding Anthony Davis? It's a tough task, but
yeah,
it's kind of the only reason he went there. It's kind of the only reason they wanted him.
yeah. If they get Ibaka shooting like hitting threes, and if they get playoff Rondo, you know this could easily go
Chance.
seven, and there's a chance that they can win this series.
Yeah.
I just think like I don't know, LeBron and AD. Like if you want to say Paul George and Kawhi equal that and just kind of cancel the stars out, I guess I'm okay with that. But like if Schroeder plays well, the Lakers have so much depth, and
Yeah.
Rondo and Ibaka are question marks. And past that, I don't really like any of their depth that they have. I just think the Lakers are gonna. They've been there before. They know how to play in these big situations, and LeBron and AD are just such a perfect pair together, and they play so well together, and they have so much depth, so many options. Marcus Gasol, Montrezl Harrell, you know, it's gonna be really good for them.
And I think Tyron Lue, like when it comes down to coaching, like when matchups are really close, I don't think he's an X and O coach.
Mm,
He's not that guy that's gonna create a crazy play to win a game. He's more of a player coach, get the managing the players and everything with that.
yep,
And I don't know if that plays a factor, but I just can't see a game 7 win with the Clippers. I don't like the coaches XO that much. I don't like their depth past like the 5-6. So it's gonna be tough. Obviously Kawhi Leonard's great. We've seen him
yep,
what he did with the Raptors. he has a chance, but LeBron's great too, man.
Yeah. And by this point, hopefully LeBron and AD are like fully, fully,
100%.
fully healthy and
Yeah,
fully ramped up. So a fully healthy Lakers is scary, no matter who they're playing.
yeah, for sure.
All right. So the finals, we both have Nets, Lakers. Who's winning the championship this year?
And we basically been saying this since the James Harden trade that Brooklyn Nets will be the
Mm,
champions of this season. I have it in going 7 because I think LeBron's that good.
yeah.
But man, I'm still going with Brooklyn.
Man, I have the Lakers taking it. I have it going 7 too.
Oh, you changing your
But
mind
yeah,
after?
yeah, a little bit. But we both have it going 7. Obviously, the
Yeah,
Lakers have so much size, just like we said with the Sixers and with the Bucks. The Lakers are going to be able to get whatever they want in the paint. Blake Griffin is like, and like Nick Claxton are their best interior paint defenders.
yeah,
Anthony Davis is going to guard KD.
yeah,
That's going to be a really good matchup. I guess LeBron would have to take a lot of defensive responsibility in that series too, and guard like a
yeah.
James
Probably like
James Harden probably.
Harden. Yeah,
But I just think the Lakers have so much size. Now Brooklyn's going to be able to score. Brooklyn's probably the better clutch crunch time team. But defensively and just I just love the Lakers size and their rebounding and all that stuff. I think and then in the game 7, I don't know. It's really anyone's game, but I'm just
yeah.
going with Lakers.
And as you said, let's say Anthony Davis goes on Kevin Durant and LeBron goes on James Harden. You could have those two guys sit in the corner, get the two good defenders out of it, and run
Mm,
a Kyrie ISO. And
yeah.
man, they just have so much. Like that's so crazy. Like you could just take out two defenders, put them in a corner, and still
Yeah.
run Kyrie Irving ISO. Like remember when the Cavs were in the finals, how much they used to like picks and everything's and like rotations and like off ball screens they used to have just to get Kyrie the ball. Like
Yeah.
now when it's
He's going to
like
be
an
one on
option,
one.
yeah, it's an option that the teams are going to be like kind of daunting you to
Mhm.
take. Like it's just too much talent. It's too much offensive
Yeah.
talent.
I just like if the Lakers, assuming they're fully healthy, assuming both teams are fully healthy, like I don't know, like the Lakers are so dominant. If they had been playing this whole time, I think we might be thinking a little bit differently of them. If they had
Yeah,
been, they'd be an easy 1 seed. They'd be dominating most teams. They're such a team with such good chemistry, uh, so much experience. LeBron, uh, Davis, like I said, I don't think anyone can guard Davis on the Nets. Like I think if the Lakers do take this series, it would be Davis as the MVP. Like I think he would be putting up 32 points a game. Like I just think he'd be dominating. That's kind of why I'm picking them.
well, if the Lakers do win the championship, it would be the lowest seed to ever win the championship. The
Wow.
Houston Rockets back in the 90s, Hakeem's second time winning a championship was as a 6 seed. That was a historic run. Everyone talks about that because they beat so many like 60, 50 plus win teams to get the championship. And this Lakers team, man, like they would have to beat the Suns, who are a 51 and 21 team. They would have to beat the Warriors. They would have to beat the Nuggets or Blazers, and then they'd have to beat a super team, Nets. And I
Yeah.
would put LeBron at 5 championships. Like it would be great historically. We can always hear the summer conversations, win or lose. LeBron, we could hear LeBron versus Jordan.
Yeah.
Kind of hear it every summer. But if Kevin Durant wins, man, we could hear Kevin Durant top 10 conversations too, because 3 championships, 3 finals MVPs, an MVP. Like he's
The year
building his
after an
top 10
Achilles injury,
legacy. Yeah,
like
it's gonna be crazy.
yeah, it's man. If we
A
do get
lot.
that series, I'm hoping we get that series. It's looking like we probably will if everyone can stay healthy. That I don't see a situation where it doesn't go 7. And that game 7, LeBron versus Durant, LeBron versus
Again. Yeah.
Kyrie is just that's gonna be one of the most exciting game 7s like maybe ever.
Yeah, and LeBron versus Durant has been a nice. It's going to be a legacy type.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that for years because we had it with the Heat, OKC, then we had it with the Cavs, uh, Cavs Warriors, and then now we have them both on different teams,
Yeah.
swapped conferences, Lakers Nets. We have to see it. We have to see it. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting,
Yeah. Who so
interesting to say the least.
do you have an MVP finals MVP prediction? Is it Kevin
I think
Durant?
it's Kevin Durant because I have the Nets winning.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a world where James Harden wins it. I think like James Harden could just go
Think so?
ballistic, and like Kevin Durant's attracting like doubles and stuff, and James Harden is just like playmaking and all this stuff. I don't know.
You know Kevin Durant's personality though.
Yeah.
He's gonna shoot 20 times in the finals. He's gonna shoot 20 times every game he plays this playoff series. He's a guy that's like that, and I think both those guys understand. Maybe we could compete for number two, but
Mm.
we're not competing for number one. It's Kevin Durant. I think if anyone is gonna have like a surprise Finals MVP, it'll be if the Lakers win. I can see Anthony Davis winning it
Yeah,
easily.
I think Davis is the MVP if they win. Yeah.
Obviously, LeBron can still win it too. He's won the last four, but I think those guys will be like 50-50. Whereas more Kevin Durant, I'll be more confident he wins it.
Yeah, the thing is, like, to get to the finals, they're gonna have to play as a team. Like, they're gonna have to move the
Yeah.
ball. It can't just be ISO taking turns. And
Uh, with the offensive talent, you never
no,
know, man.
for sure. But like the reason they work so well together is because of the playmaking that James Harden
Yeah,
has been doing.
brings.
And
Yeah,
like if he's dropping like 13 assists a game and still putting up 25 and stuff like that, like I don't know. It's gonna be really good. It's gonna be amazing from all three of them. It's gonna be some of the most fun offense in the playoffs that we've ever seen. And after a long and kind of painful season, we're finally to
season.
this
Yeah,
point, and we're hopefully going to get some really, really exciting basketball. Finally.
yeah, and hopefully no breaks, no health protocols. Hopefully this
Yeah.
goes smoothly because it's lining up like what we just listed, the seven
Yeah.
seed run from the Lakers,
Yeah.
or this comeback new formation of the super team on the fly run from the Nets. These are going to be historic runs that people are going to talk about for years to come. So
Yeah.
hopefully there's no like asterisks next to it.
Yeah. And like so many good storylines. Like we went over
Yeah.
most of them already. I think I don't want to jinx anything, but like we haven't gotten a COVID like health and safety protocol thing for like a while now, right? I don't remember the last time a player had to miss some games because of that.
I think the last one was like Mikal Bridges. I think he just returned 5 or 6 games ago.
Okay.
So hopefully the Hornets don't cause an outbreak there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's going to be really interesting because there was talk like earlier in the season that they might even be have to be going back to the bubble, but obviously that's not the
Yeah,
case.
that's not the case.
There are going to be some fans in stadiums, like the Blazers just brought fans back. It's just all shaping up to be like
Yeah.
a really exciting
Okay.
playoffs. Hopefully everyone can stay healthy. Hopefully everyone can stay like safe and everything like that. You know?
Yeah, it was Miles Bridges, and he missed
Mm,
May 4th to May 13th. He returned May
okay.
15th, May 16th. So hopefully, hey, maybe that might be one of the reasons why the Hornets didn't play as good. We didn't recognize he was
Mm,
gone for that long too. So
yeah.
hey, hopefully that doesn't happen though.
Anyway,
The
yeah, but
healthy
they've been slowing down
protocols.
a lot. Like it was
Yeah,
pretty ugly earlier on in the season, but it's definitely the NBA's done a pretty good
way
job, I
better.
think, overall for
Yeah.
sure. All right, so that does it for this episode. We are recording, like I said, the day before the play-in tournament. That's going to be some of the like Lakers Warriors. Come on, like what else could you ask for out of a play-in game? And then I think playoffs start next Saturday, so we're going to be recording next Sunday right after the first round of games, the first day of games, maybe the first 2 days of games. Super excited, so happy to be back in the playoffs. But yeah, thank you
Postseason
everyone.
ball.
Yeah, postseason. Let's go. Everyone, thank you everyone for listening to this episode. You can check us out on Instagram at Trust the Floor Podcast. Subscribe to STF Clips, our YouTube channel, to find the best clips from every podcast. But most importantly, subscribe to the podcast feed wherever you get your podcasts and leave a 5-star rating, leave a review because it all really helps. But other than that, we will see you guys next weekend, next Sunday, when we're in full swing of the 2021 NBA playoffs.